I need to talk to you guys about the OneFootball app. See, the OneFootball app is the best football app there is out there, and I use it for a load of different reasons. It's great for transfer rumours, team news and starting 11s, which is actually really useful when I'm making these tactical videos. On top of that, you can now watch game highlights and even live matches, all on the OneFootball app. And believe it or not, it actually gets even better than that, because now you can do it all for free if you use the link in the description down below. So make sure to get in the description, press the link and download the OneFootball app right away. Trust me, you guys will not regret downloading this app. It really is great. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel. I hope you're all well. I'll be honest, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but when a transfer like this is breaking, I simply have to cover it. And that is the transfer Casemiro to Manchester United. Now, I'm recording this Friday morning, and at the moment, it looks like this is a matter of when rather than if. It really looks like this transfer is going to happen. Manchester United are actually going to sign a holding midfielder. So today, of course, I'm going to look at his strengths and weaknesses, and then also tactically how he will fit into Erik ten Hag's side. So as I said there, Casemiro is very much a holding midfielder, something that Manchester United haven't had for a long time. The last player they signed to play this position was Nemanja Matic, but he was past his best when he came in. This is a really big signing for Manchester United. Now, in terms of profile, it's different to what we've seen United linked with this summer. Regardless, Casemiro is one of the best holding midfielders in the world, and actually from a defensive point of view, I still think he is the best, and that is what this United team desperately needs. Now, whether it's Martinez and Maguire, or Varane, or Lindelof, or Bailly, whoever it is who has played centre-back over the past few seasons, they have been heavily exposed time and time again by a midfield that just can't protect them. Fred and McTominay have not done a good enough job. Casemiro will go a long way to addressing that, because he is just so good. Now, people will point to his age at 30 years old, saying, is he past his best a little bit? I don't think so. Fernandinho was signed at Manchester City when he was 28 years old, and he stayed there for 9 years till he was 37, and it weren't until the last couple of years that he seemed to drop off. Now, Casemiro isn't the same profile as Fernandinho, he doesn't run about as much, he's a different type of player, but that might actually make even more sense. Casemiro's game has never been on covering a lot of ground. Don't get me wrong, he does work hard, but it's more about his brain, his positioning, and reading the play. He's not going to lose that with age, so I think he can come into the team and adapt to the league, and age, I don't think it's an issue. It's not a long-term solution to the problem, however I still think he will come into this team and make a pretty big impact. So the area that Casemiro is going to impact is really this big zone here in the middle of the pitch. That is where he does most of his work, that's where he will play for the team, and he will just hold that sort of position. So let's talk about what he will do on the ball. So, obviously, one of the big issues that Manchester United have faced this season is struggling to get out from the back. Now, is this Casemiro's strength? Not quite, I wouldn't say so. I think he is press resistant to an extent, and he is happy to turn and play out from the back. However, I don't think he necessarily immediately fixes that solution. However, what we saw at Real Madrid often was that in this situation, he was used as a bit of a decoy, and then we would see Toni Kroos dropping it in deeper to then get the ball. And I wonder if we could see something similar with Christian Eriksen, or perhaps another signing if we see one later in the window. Again, perhaps Frenkie de Jong, but maybe that's a bit hopeful. But perhaps Eriksen could play this role, where Casemiro acts as the decoy for the team, and then Eriksen is able to come deep and get on the ball. That could give United another way to play out from the back. Ultimately, that is something that Ten Hag will need to figure out. I am just going to quickly interrupt because we do have another sponsor for today's video, and that is jerseyfifa.com. The website you need to head to right away to get yourself the latest and greatest football shirts, all at an extremely affordable price. The link will be in the description below, so head there right away to get yourself a great shirt, again at a great price. Now back to the video. If United can figure that out and finally begin to dominate possession, then Casemiro is ideal to play as the base midfielder, and if we look at his heat map here actually, we can see this is very much where he plays. He sticks to that middle area of the pitch, and he looks to not necessarily control the game, but that is very much where he patrols. This is his zone, and if you think the attacking team is going this way, he's going to be in this centre of the pitch, just in and around the centre circle. Now, what I do think might happen is that might lead to a change of shape for United. But first of all, I just want to talk about Casemiro on the ball, because I have seen people online saying he's not great on the ball. Now, I think that's perhaps a little bit lazy. He's not elite on the ball, he isn't Frenkie de Jong on the ball, he isn't Toni Kroos. However, you don't play for that Real Madrid team, one of the best midfield trios we have ever seen for nearly 10 years. For that long, you don't play in a team that good for that long unless you're good on the ball. And actually I think a side to his game that is a little bit underrated is his long passing. And that is something that United could utilise. currently Fred and McTominay simply do not have a long pass in their locker. They can't do it. And that does halt United a little bit, because we know that Ten Hag likes his wingers to play nice and high, so a really good weapon to have is long passing to get them into the game quickly. Now, as I said, when Toni Kroos is doing it at Real Madrid, Casemiro gets a little bit underlooked, but it is certainly something that he's very capable of doing, particularly playing from this side out to the left wing. So that is definitely something that United could use a lot more of. In terms of shorter passing, he's not really a player that wants to play the ball through the lines. We can look actually at his FBref report here. We can see that his progressive passes, 69th percentile, 4.53, which isn't great, and I do think United need better than that, but perhaps that can come from a different midfielder. But if we are directly comparing this to Fred and McTominay, who have played this sort of possession for United in the past, he is still better than both of them. Statistically, he is better than both Fred and McTominay for progressive passes. However, it still isn't his strength, so I wouldn't expect Casemiro to come into the team and be threading passes through the lines. And it's for that reason that I think we might see a slight change in shape in possession. Now, so far this season, United have very much used a 2-3 shape, with the fullbacks playing quite central. However, I think we might see Ten Hag switch more to a shape that he was using with Ajax. And I think what we're going to see is more of a back three in possession, with one of the fullbacks, personally I think Luke Shaw, dropping into play alongside the defenders, and then Casemiro and then Dalot acting more of a 2 in front of them, creating this 3-2 shape. And this is very much more what we saw from Ajax last season. Daley Blind would regularly play here, and then Mazraoui would play this position here. Now, United do have options from there as well, because we could see Shaw come out for the team, Lisandro Martinez could go to left back, and then Maguire could come in at centre back. Now, that would make up for some of the height issues that Lisandro is facing at the moment, and it would create quite a nice base shape in possession, and Lisandro is a very good ball progressor from this area. So that is certainly an option as well, and that's a good thing for Ten Hag to have, options on the ball. And that is the benefit of having Casemiro. Something else that Casemiro will do is occasionally he'll be happy to drop into the defence, which will then allow perhaps the two fullbacks to play as a double pivot, or one of the centre-backs to step forward. So Casemiro provides options in possession for Manchester United. I think the important thing is getting the right midfielders around him. Now, a lot of the talk has been about Fred playing next to him, because the two of them have played so well together for Brazil. However, I think we are all at the point now where we just don't think Fred is good enough to play in a possession-based side, modern-day football, playing high tempo, passes through the lines, progressive carries. We don't really think he's good enough at that. However, what this shape is going to do is allow United's two other midfielders to play slightly higher, and that's where I think we could see Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes. Now, some people are questioning, is that too attack-minded? However, again, if we go to that Ajax side from last season, then what we saw was Gravenberch and Bergwijn playing in these roles. And Gravenberch essentially started in a double pivot alongside Edson Alvarez. However, he was given the licence to get a lot further forward. Now, currently United haven't been able to do that because they haven't had that Edson Alvarez figure at the club. McTominay is the closest to it, but intelligence-wise he is still a mile off, and Fred is not even close. Casemiro will provide something very, very similar to that, and that is why we could see a change to this tactic. And with this extra defensive security, we could see the midfielders getting further forward. And I wonder if an Eriksen and Fernandes midfield partnership alongside Casemiro could work quite nicely. See, when we look at the stats so far this season, Eriksen and Fernandes are working very hard, covering the most ground out of these United players. And it's not something that we really necessarily associate with their game. And I think this suits Eriksen perfectly. We saw him for Brentford last season. He played his best football as a left-sided 8 in a midfield 3. And this would almost allow him to play in a similar sort of position. If we just go back to the starting formation, let's call it a 4-3-3 for now still, although it could be a 4-2-3-1 with Eriksen dropping in to help play out. But once United are then dominating, Eriksen can then push further forward, and it becomes a bit more of a front 5 like this. Martial or Ronaldo up front, I'm not really too sure. But what we're seeing is Casemiro provides different options on the ball and different shapes that you can use. And like I said, it isn't his strength in possession, however, he is still so much better than Fred and McTominay. This is an area of his game which I'm describing as probably his weakest point. Casemiro is a wonderful footballer, one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. His weaknesses do come on the ball. However, still, if we look at the numbers here, in terms of passes attempted, pass completion, and progressive passes, in all three metrics he is statistically better than Fred and McTominay. So in his weakest area, he is still better than what United have already. So in that regard, it makes sense as a signing, right? So, just need to take a breath for a second. So yeah, I think it could be a good signing. It's not a long-term signing that is going to pay off over 6 years, and he will take a bit of time to adapt to the league. but I do think on the ball he is an upgrade. Now, like I said, it's about getting the right players alongside him. Frankie de Jong could be perfect to be given sort of a ball progressing role here, but I think at the moment the best player suited for that role would be Christian Eriksen, and then Bruno Fernandes gets to play slightly higher. And I think that's quite a nice midfield trio. In Casemiro, Eriksen and Fernandes, you finally have some game intelligence and also quality on the ball, plenty of experience and hard-working players. And I think it could work really nicely, genuinely I do. Now ultimately, whilst Casemiro is going to change the shape in possession and on the ball for Manchester United, the reason you're signing him is for what he offers from a defensive point of view. Now, that is the area where United have struggled massively in the first 2 weeks of the season, in their losses to Brighton and Brentford. The team has just been so exposed, and if you go back to the shape that we've been seeing so far, there's just not really enough numbers here in this middle area of the pitch. And when it's been Fred playing this role alone, he's not good enough. Unfortunately, he is a hard worker, he covers a lot of ground, but he just doesn't have the intelligence. I don't mind him as a footballer, but he just isn't smart enough. He doesn't have the football IQ to play this role. Casemiro is completely different to that. Again, if we go back to his FBref report, interceptions, tackles, blocks, clearances and aerials won are all extremely high. Now, this is in a team that dominate possession. Real Madrid in La Liga, most games, they have most of the ball. Yes, it changes against other top sides, but in La Liga they tend to dominate the ball against most sides. So to be ranking in these percentiles for a possession-dominating team is really impressive. And particularly, I think interceptions highlights his intelligence. And that's where I don't think his age is too much of an issue, because he is perfect to patrol this area just in front of the defence, and he will break play up. I would love to show you some clips on screen now of some of his tackles and interceptions from last season, but unfortunately I'll get copyrighted if I do that, so I can't show you them right now. But I really highly recommend you go check out some of his videos from a defensive point of view. Those videos won't show too much on the ball. Like I said, he's quite a safe option in possession, but defensively his recovery tackles, his interceptions, his aerials won are all really nice, and actually stylistically he is very similar to Edson Alvarez at Ajax last season. So he really does give Ten Hag the option to play in that way, where you play with a back three during the game with a fullback dropping deep, and then your other fullback is alongside your Edson Alvarez or your Casemiro, where he's a safe option in possession. The other players are responsible for progressing the ball, but really out of possession he's so intelligent. He's going to break up the play, win the ball back, and then that alone will improve United on the ball, because at the moment if they lose the ball they are quickly punished, quickly transitioned, and a lot of the time they end up conceding. Casemiro is going to provide that extra security out of possession, which in turn means United will win the ball back more, which then as a result means United have more possession of the football, which then allows the like of Eriksen, Bruno Fernandes, Sancho to get more involved in the game. And overall, I think it's a good signing. Now, the price is high. It's very expensive for a 30-year-old. The wages are high, but actually just on that point, some people are questioning Casemiro's mentality, saying if he's joining United, coming from the La Liga champions, the champions of Europe, to United for a big fee, for a big contract, is he just in it for the money? I can see why people would say that, but at the end of the day, he's a human. Of course he's in it for the money. A football career is quite short. You've got to get the money while you can. But also, Real Madrid just spent 80-odd million on Tchouaméni, who we know is a long-term Casemiro replacement. It's also a World Cup year, and Fabinho is at Liverpool playing regularly. Casemiro needs regular football if he wants to guarantee his spot in the World Cup starting 11 for Brazil in the winter. So, I do think it is football motivated. Yes, the money's going to be in it as well, and he will get paid a lot, I'm sure, but I don't really care. Casemiro, I think he is worth it. I think there are other options United could have gone for. Perhaps Tchouaméni would have been the better option. If Madrid are replacing Casemiro with Tchouaméni, that probably says something about how the two clubs are run. But ultimately, United aren't run as well as what Real Madrid are, so I think Casemiro is a good option. Defensively, he is a massive upgrade on Fred and McTominay, and any other option United have in midfield. On the ball, again, he is an upgrade on both Fred and McTominay. I think it's about getting the right system and the right personnel around him. I do think changing to this 3-2 shape would suit him quite nicely, and put more emphasis on the likes of Dalot progressing the ball, whilst Casemiro provides that safety and security, giving Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes the licence to work up and down the pitch, get in support of the midfield and the attack. I think it could make for quite a nice system, and like I keep saying, it is a shape that we saw from Ajax a lot last season, and perhaps it might be smart for Ten Hag during these early stages where he's having some trouble to kind of go back to what he knows, go back to a familiar shape, and Casemiro looks very familiar to me. He is very similar to Edson Alvarez. He's just a better, more complete version. So it makes sense. That's pretty much all I've got to say on the matter. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a good signing? Do you think he costs too much? Do you not care about the signing? Are you more focused on Glazers out? Which, make sure you're focused on that. Overall, I think it's a good signing. I think it's expensive, but it's not my money that they're spending. So I think it's a good signing. I think it improves the team on and off the ball. So yeah, overall, I'm quite happy with the move, but I think United still need more. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Who do they need to get in to play alongside him, or is Eriksen good enough as the left-sided 8? Let me know what you think. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.